I never thought I'd be sharing this, but here goes. I'm Daniel, 38, happily married with a kid on the way. Grew up the responsible older brother. Maya always got the sunshine, though. Mom and Dad, they kinda saw me as background noise. I built a life far away, a good one, but now, my phone just rang and it's them. After all this time, I can't believe what they want. The flashback hits me like a punch to the gut. I'm 14, crammed in the back of the station wagon between Maya and a cooler full of lukewarm soda. Road trip from hell, endless stretches of desert. My parents were already snapping at each other. I mouthed off something stupid, teenage angst. "Daniel, you're being impossible," my mom shrieked. "Just be quiet," my dad, face red, pulled into a dusty rest stop. He told me to get out, cool off. I slammed the door, fuming, and walked away. When I turned back, the car was gone, tail lights disappearing down the highway. My stomach dropped to my knees. This wasn't happening. They couldn't. I started running, screaming their names, but the car was already a speck. The air hung thick and silent. A cold wave washed over me. My parents, they just left me. The memory is interrupted by the voicemail. "Daniel, honey, it's Mom. It's Maya. She's well, just call us. It's important. After everything we've done for you, you need to be here." Then a text from my dad. "Don't make this about you, son. Your sister needs you." My hands trembled so badly I had to set my phone down. Important. After 24 years of silence, my chest tightened until I could barely breathe. You need to think about what's best for the family. Always, always what's best for them, even now. It hits me. This wasn't a one-time thing. It was a pattern. I was always disposable. I needed to understand. I called my parents. My mom answered, her voice tight. "Daniel, where have you been? We've been trying to reach you." "Mom, what's going on with Maya?" My voice shook despite my best efforts. "That's not important right now," she snapped. "The important thing is you need to come home." "Home? You left me at a rest stop in Arizona, Mom." That wasn't exactly a welcome mat. Silence. Then my dad's voice, gruff and dismissive. "Why are you bringing that up now? That was a long time ago." "A long time ago, I was 14, you abandoned me." My throat closed up, words trapped inside. "Daniel, don't be dramatic," my mom said, her tone laced with irritation. "It was a mistake. We were young, stressed. Everyone makes mistakes." "A mistake? You didn't even turn around." I called for weeks. No one answered. My heart pounded like a drum against my ribs. "Oh, here we go, playing the victim again," my dad scoffed. "Everyone has problems, Daniel. You're not special." "We're family, Daniel," my mom chimed in, her voice dripping with guilt. "We should support each other, especially now when Maya needs us." "Support each other? You didn't support me. You threw me away." The words exploded out of me. "That never happened the way you're describing," my dad said. "You were being a difficult teenager. You ran off. It was your fault." My face burned with humiliation, with anger. "It was always my fault. Always. We're your parents. We raised you." My mom's voice rose. "After everything we sacrificed." "Sacrificed? What sacrifices? I was a ghost in their house." "Just come home, Daniel," she pleaded. "Do it for your sister." I hung up. The dial tone screamed in my ear. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. I felt hollowed out, emptied. They hadn't changed, not one bit. I was still that 14-year-old kid, stranded and alone, but something felt different. A flicker of defiance ignited within me. Maybe this wasn't about me. Maybe this was about them. And maybe, just maybe, I didn't deserve this. A week later, the doorbell rang. Sarah was at work. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened the door to find my parents, flanked by my Aunt Carol and Uncle Frank. My mother beamed, a forced, sickly sweet smile plastered on her face. "Surprise," she chirped. "We thought we'd pop in for a visit." Pop in? They lived in Texas. I lived in Seattle. Aunt Carol bustled forward, engulfing me in a hug. "Daniel, honey, it's so good to see you. It's been too long." Too long. I hadn't seen them in 24 years. And Daniel, I legally changed my name to Ryan years ago. Uncle Frank clapped me on the back a little too hard. "Looking good, son. A little thin on top maybe, but still looking good." My parents pushed past them, stepping into my house like they owned the place. My mother began appraising the living room, her lips pursed. "It's cozy," she said, the word dripping with condescension. "We brought you some of Maya's favorite cookies," my dad announced, holding up a plastic container. "She always remembers how much you love them too." Remember those summers? Summers filled with Maya getting all the attention while I mowed the lawn or did chores. My stomach churned. I felt a tension headache blooming behind my eyes. Why was I still putting up with this? They were already setting up shop, spreading their emotional baggage all over my meticulously crafted life. We were just telling Carol and Frank about that time you got lost at the state fair, my mom continued, her voice saccharine. You were so scared. We found you by the Ferris wheel, remember? Except they hadn't found me. I had found them after hours of wandering alone, terrified. This was a pattern. Rewrite history, minimize my pain, maximize their narrative. So Ryan, my dad said, emphasizing the wrong name, when are you coming down to see Maya? She's not getting any better. We're all very worried about her, Ryan, Carol added, her eyes pleading. She's always been such a sweet girl. We know you're busy, but family comes first, Frank chimed in. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them to get out, but Sarah, my baby. I couldn't let them disrupt my peace, my family, not yet. A sharp pain shot through my temples. I'll look at my schedule, I said, my voice flat. My mother's face lit up. Oh, that's wonderful, dear. We knew you'd do the right thing. She reached out to hug me, but I subtly stepped back. I need to check on something in the kitchen, I said, turning away. Please make yourselves at home. I walked into the kitchen, the weight of their presence pressing down on me. Why was I still putting up with this? I took a deep breath, trying to regain control. I wasn't that 14-year-old anymore. I was Ryan, a husband, soon a father. I had a life, a good life, and I wouldn't let them take it away from me. As I walked back to the living room, I said, I can't have you stay long, I have a lot to do. Later that evening, after my parents, Aunt Carol and Uncle Frank had finally left, Sarah found me staring out the window, my face etched with a familiar, haunted look. She came up behind me, wrapping her arms around my waist, resting her head on my shoulder. Rough visit? She asked softly. I leaned back against her, closing my eyes. You have no idea. Tell me, she urged, her voice gentle but firm. You know you can tell me anything. I hesitated. It's hard to explain, it's just family stuff. Ryan, she said, gently turning me around to face her. I've seen your family stuff. It's not exactly rainbows and unicorns, I sighed. Okay, they just showed up, unannounced, all the way from Texas. Wow, she said, her eyebrows raised. That's intense. And they called me Daniel, I continued, my voice barely a whisper. They haven't called me Ryan once. They brought cookies, Maya's favorites. They told stories, twisted versions of events. They made me feel like that lost kid again. Sarah's expression shifted to concern. Give me some examples, she pressed. What kind of twisted versions? I took a deep breath. Like the time I got lost at the state fair. They told Carol and Frank how scared I was and how they found me by the Ferris wheel, but they didn't find me. I found them after wandering around for hours, terrified. They just glossed over that part. Sarah's eyes widened. That's not normal family behavior, Ryan. That's rewriting history. I shifted uncomfortably. It's not just that, it's everything. It's the way they minimize my feelings, the way they invalidate my experiences, the way they always make it about them. I told her about the rest stop, about the years of silence, about the recent phone call. Sarah listened intently, her face growing increasingly troubled. When I finished, she was silent for a moment, her brow furrowed. Ryan, she said finally, her voice soft but firm, you realize that's manipulative, right? They abandoned you as a child. They never took responsibility for it. And now they're trying to guilt you into doing what they want, using Maya as leverage. I looked away, shame washing over me. I know, but they're my family. If anyone else treated you that way, Sarah countered, would you accept it? If a friend or a coworker did those things, would you still be talking to them? I shook my head slowly. No, probably not. You deserve to be treated with basic respect, Ryan, she said, her voice filled with conviction. You deserve to be heard, to be validated, to be loved unconditionally. And your parents, they haven't given you any of that. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the truth reflected in her eyes. The anger, the pain, the resentment I had buried for so long finally surfaced, raw and undeniable. But what do I do? I asked, my voice trembling. Sarah took my hand, her touch warm and grounding. You set boundaries, you protect yourself. You choose what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not. and you remember that you are not that little boy anymore. You are Ryan, you are loved, and you are strong. A wave of relief washed over me, followed by a surge of anger. They didn't get to keep doing this to me. They didn't get to keep manipulating me, guilt-tripping me, invalidating me. I had a choice. I always had a choice. I looked at Sarah, my eyes filled with a newfound determination. "You're right," I said. "I'm done. I'm not going to let them control me anymore." That night, lying in bed next to Sarah, I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. I knew what I had to do. I had to see Maya, not for my parents, but for myself. And when I saw them again, I wouldn't be the lost, abandoned boy they remembered. I would be Ryan, and I would finally tell them the truth. The next morning, my phone buzzed incessantly. Texts from my mom, my dad, Aunt Carol, pictures of Maya in the hospital looking frail and weak. "She's asking for you, Daniel," one text read. "Don't let her down." Then a group text, "Family dinner tonight at local restaurant, 7 o'clock, be there." They had invited themselves into my life and were now dictating my schedule, demanding my presence, using Maya as a weapon. Something inside me snapped, a clean, sharp break. The confusion cleared, replaced by a chilling calm. My shoulders straightened, my posture became rigid. I looked in the mirror. My reflection stared back, a stranger with newfound resolve. My voice, when I spoke, was steady, unfamiliar. "I am not Daniel anymore." The relief was immense, intoxicating, mixed with a burning rage. I texted back, "I'll see Maya, but not at your dinner and not on your terms." My parents' replies were instantaneous, angry, accusatory. I muted the conversation. Internally, I was a volcano, molten fury churning. Externally, I moved with purpose, a surgeon preparing for a delicate operation. I booked a flight to Texas. I looked at my reflection. I am not that child. I choose my family now. No more "I am in charge, I'm going to see my sister." And then, I am done. The flight was booked. Now the real work began. First, evidence. I spent the afternoon digging through old photo albums, scanning pictures that documented the favoritism, the subtle and not so subtle dismissals. Maya's birthday parties, lavish and overflowing. Mine, a cake and a half-hearted "Happy Birthday, Daniel." I found report cards, mine consistently excellent yet met with indifference, Maya's mediocre but celebrated as signs of potential. I created a digital file, meticulously labeling each image, proof, for myself if no one else. Next, Sarah's therapist. A quick call, an emergency session squeezed in. Dr. Evans listened patiently as I recounted the latest events, the manipulation, the pressure. "They're trying to drag you back into that old dynamic, Ryan," she said gently. "Don't let them." We role-played potential scenarios, practicing responses to their predictable tactics, guilt trips, accusations, sob stories. "Remember your boundaries," she reminded me. "You are in control." Then the plan. I wrote down the key points I needed to address: the abandonment, the years of silence, the constant invalidation. I rehearsed my opening statement, my closing remarks. I anticipated their reactions, their denials, their attempts to deflect. I wrote down contingencies. What if they refused to acknowledge my pain? What if they tried to gaslight me? What if Maya sided with them? I needed answers and strategies. That evening, Sarah found me hunched over my notes, my face illuminated by the harsh glow of the laptop screen. "Hey," she said softly, sitting beside me. "How's it going?" "It's intense," I admitted, rubbing my temples. "I feel like I'm preparing for war." Sarah took my hand, her touch grounding. "You are in a way," she said. "You're fighting for your own peace, for your own healing." She looked at my notes. "What's this?" "My battle plan," I said wryly. "I'm trying to anticipate every possible scenario." Sarah smiled. "That's good, but don't get too caught up in the details. Remember what Dr. Evans said, you're in control. You don't have to react the way they expect you to." She paused. "One thing, Ryan, be prepared for them not to apologize. They may never admit they were wrong. Can you accept that?" My heart sank. That's what I wanted. A simple apology, an acknowledgement. Was that too much to ask? "I don't know," I admitted. "It's hard." "It is," Sarah said, "but don't let their lack of remorse define you. You can still find closure even if they don't give you what you need." She squeezed my hand. "You've got this, Ryan. I'm so proud of you." Her belief in me, her unwavering support gave me strength. I took a deep breath. Thanks, I said. I needed that. The next morning I chose my clothes carefully, a simple, dark suit, professional yet understated, armor. I practiced deep breathing exercises, trying to calm the churning in my stomach. They can't hurt you anymore. You are not that child. As I drove to the hospital, the Texas sun beating down on my windshield, I replayed my opening statement in my mind. I had to be firm, clear, and unwavering. I had to tell them the truth without apology. I will not be silenced. I will not be dismissed. I will be heard. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I saw the hospital sign in the distance. Okay, Ryan, here we go, no turning back now. The hospital room was sterile, smelling of antiseptic and fear. My parents were there, perched on hard plastic chairs, their faces etched with worry. Maya lay in the bed, pale and thin, hooked up to a maze of tubes and wires. The air was thick with unspoken resentments. I walked in, head high. Mom gasped. Dad stood stiffly. Daniel, Mom cried, rushing to hug me. I stepped back. It's Ryan, I corrected, my voice firm. The forced smile faltered on her face. Oh right, Ryan, we're just so used to— I came to see Maya, I interrupted, turning to my sister. Maya smiled weakly, her eyes lighting up. Ryan, she whispered, I'm so glad you're here. I sat beside her, taking her hand gently. Hey May, how are you feeling? Not great, she admitted, her voice raspy, but seeing you helps. My parents hovered, their eyes darting nervously between Maya and me. The silence stretched, taut and uncomfortable. I stood up, turning to face them. We need to talk, I said, my voice echoing in the small room. Can't this wait, Daniel? My father said, his voice pleading. Your sister needs rest. No, it can't wait, I said, my gaze unwavering. This has waited long enough. What's going on? Maya asked, her brow furrowed with confusion. I'll explain later, May, I said softly. This is between me and Mom and Dad. I turned back to my parents, my voice rising, a cold fury inside me. I'm done pretending. I'm done playing the good son. I'm done letting you rewrite history. My mother's face paled. Daniel, what are you doing? I'm speaking my truth, I said, my voice trembling slightly but remaining firm. For 24 years I've carried this burden. I've swallowed my anger, my pain, my resentment. No more. This isn't the time, my dad interjected, his face red with anger. Can't you see your sister is sick? You always do this, I burst out. You always make it about you. You always dismiss my feelings. You left me at a rest stop in Arizona. You abandoned me, my mother gasped, tears welling in her eyes. It was a mistake. We were young. We didn't mean to. A mistake, I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. You didn't even turn around. You didn't call. You didn't look for me. I was 14 years old. I was terrified, and you just drove away. We were stressed, my father said, his voice defensive. You were being difficult. You ran off. I ran off after you told me to. I shouted, my voice cracking. And even if I did, what kind of parents leave their child stranded in the middle of nowhere? We've apologized, my mother said, her voice shaking. What more do you want? I want you to acknowledge the truth, I said, my voice low and dangerous. I want you to admit that you hurt me, that you abandoned me, that you failed me as parents. We did the best we could, my father said, his jaw tight. No, you didn't, I said, my voice rising again. You favored Maya, you ignored me, you made me feel invisible, and when I finally acted out, you threw me away. My mother sobbed, covering her face with her hands. How can you say such things? Because they're true, I exclaimed. For years I blamed myself. I thought I was the problem. I thought I was unlovable, but I'm not. The problem wasn't me. It was you. We're your parents, my dad said, his voice pleading. We love you. Love, I scoffed. That's not love. Love is not abandoning your child on the side of the road. Love is not ignoring their pain. Love is not dismissing their feelings. After everything we've done, Mom started, reaching for her usual manipulation. Those tactics don't work on me anymore, I cut her off, my voice hard. You don't get to guilt trip me. You don't get to rewrite history. This ends now. I'm not asking, I'm telling you. My father stepped back, his face paling. My mother stared at me, her eyes wide with shock. They weren't used to me standing up to them. They weren't used to me refusing to play their game. This isn't about Maya's illness, it's about control. And you've lost it, I stated, the words ringing in the sterile air. I turned back to Maya, taking her hand again. I'm here for you, May, I said softly. I'll always be here for you. Then turning to my parents, I delivered the final blow. I'll stay for Maya, but after she's gone, I am done sacrificing my well-being for your comfort. I walked out of the room, leaving them speechless and defeated. The hospital door clicked shut behind me. I took a deep breath. The weight on my shoulders felt lighter than it had in years. I am Ryan. My legs trembled, but I kept walking, not stopping until I reached the hospital chapel. Empty, quiet. I sank into a pew, the cool wood a welcome contrast to the burning in my chest. Tears streamed down my face, a mixture of anger, grief, and something else. Relief. The silence was deafening. I closed my eyes, trying to calm my racing heart. The images flashed through my mind. My parents' shocked faces, Maya's pale and fragile form, the years of buried pain finally erupting. I wasn't sure what I expected to happen, an apology, an understanding, maybe even a shred of remorse. Instead, I got denial, deflection, and the same old manipulative tactics. It was exhausting. After what felt like an eternity, I stood up, my legs still shaky. I splashed water on my face in the restroom. I looked at my reflection. I looked exhausted. As I stepped out of the hospital, the Texas sun felt harsh and unforgiving. I walked to the nearest park, found a bench under a shady tree, and just sat there watching the world go by. The world of happy families. The phone rang. Sarah, I hesitated before answering. "Hey," I said, my voice hoarse. "Hey, you," she said softly. "How did it go?" I took a deep breath. I told them everything. And they didn't understand, I admitted. They didn't apologize, they didn't even acknowledge my pain. There was a pause. "But you did," she said. "You acknowledged it, you spoke your truth, that's what matters." I closed my eyes. "It didn't feel like enough," I said. "It will," she said. "Give it time." "I'm going to stay here for Maya," I said. "But after she's gone, I don't know what to do." "We'll figure it out," she said. Together, 6 weeks have passed since that day. Maya passed away peacefully with me holding her hand. The funeral was a blur of forced smiles, empty platitudes, and simmering resentments. I stood beside my parents, a silent, detached observer. Since then, the silence between me and my parents has been deafening. They've made a few attempts to reach out, mostly through guilt-tripping texts and phone calls. I mostly ignore them. Aunt Carol and Uncle Frank have been different. They call. They are supportive, though they don't understand. "We were just trying to keep the peace," Aunt Carol told me tearfully. "We didn't realize how much you were hurting." They've begun to ask questions, to listen, to try to understand the dynamics I grew up in. It's a small step, but it's a step nonetheless. The biggest change, however, has been within me. I still have moments of doubt, of anger, of overwhelming sadness. But I also have moments of profound peace. I'm no longer carrying the weight of their expectations, their judgments, their manipulations. I've started therapy again, this time focusing on my childhood trauma and its impact on my life. It's painful, but it's also incredibly liberating. I'm learning to forgive myself for the years I spent blaming myself. I'm learning to set healthy boundaries. I'm learning to love myself unconditionally. Sarah has been my rock through it all. She listens without judgment, she offers support without pressure, and she reminds me that I am worthy of love and happiness. My greatest joy now is our son, Liam, who was born just 2 weeks ago. Holding him in my arms, I feel a love so profound that it takes my breath away. I vow to give him the childhood I never had, a childhood filled with love, acceptance, and unconditional support. My relationship with my parents remains strained. We speak occasionally, but the conversations are stilted and superficial. They still don't understand what they did wrong. I doubt they ever will. However, I have accepted that I cannot change them. I can only change myself. I can only control my own actions, my own thoughts, my own feelings. I've learned that family is not always blood. Family is who loves you, who supports you, who accepts you for who you are. And I have found my family in Sarah, in Liam, and in a few close friends who have become my chosen family. I've learned that forgiveness is not about excusing the actions of others. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of anger and resentment. I may never forgive my parents for what they did, but I can forgive myself for the years I spent holding on to that pain. I've learned that healing is a process, not a destination. There will be good days and bad days, moments of clarity and moments of doubt. But as long as I keep moving forward, as long as I keep working on myself, I will eventually reach a place of peace. So here I am, a husband, a father, a survivor. I'm no longer the lost, abandoned boy. I am Ryan, and I am finally free. But here's where I still struggle. What do you do when your extended family still tries to minimize your pain to keep the peace between you and your parents? How do you explain to them that it's not about being difficult, but about protecting yourself from further harm? Has anyone else dealt with this kind of thing? I'd love to hear your advice, or even just know I'm not alone in this.